In a world full of ancient mysteries and biblical tales, one story has fascinated scholars and believers for centuries: the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. For years, scientists and historians have debated the truth behind their demise. Now, groundbreaking research has uncovered compelling evidence that sheds new light on this age-old mystery. They have found massive evidence that a huge heat blast from the sky, at about 25 degrees above the horizon, incinerated these twin cities on the Jordanian side of the river just north of the Dead Sea. But what exactly caused the downfall of Sodom? How did its demise come about? Was it a natural disaster, divine intervention, or something else entirely? And how do recent discoveries challenge our previous understanding of this enigmatic event? Join us as we delve into the latest findings and explore the fascinating theories that may finally reveal the truth behind one of history's most enduring mysteries. Trust me, you won't want to miss the shocking new discovery revealed at the end of this video. For centuries, the story of Sodom and Gomorrah has been dismissed as mere mythology by skeptics and scholars alike. Many people have questioned the validity of this biblical tale, thinking it sounds like something straight out of a fantastical book, a city obliterated by fire and brimstone from the heavens because its people were disobedient seems too far-fetched to be true. But what if I told you there is compelling evidence suggesting otherwise? What if I told you there's a man who claims to have not only found the location of Sodom and Gomorrah but also unearthed evidence supporting their existence? Dr. Stephen Collins is his name, and his discoveries are about to change everything we thought we knew about these ancient cities. But before we dive into the specifics, we first need to understand the biblical significance of Sodom and Gomorrah. These infamous cities are known for their sinful ways as described in the Bible's book of Genesis. According to Scripture, these cities, along with Admah, Zeboim, and Zor, formed what was known as the cities of the plain. Their wickedness was so great that God decided to destroy them with sulfur and fire. In the Genesis account, God informs Abraham of his plan to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah due to their grave sins. Abraham, concerned for the righteous people living in the cities, including his nephew Lot and his family, pleads with God to spare them. He negotiates with God, asking if the cities can be spared if a certain number of righteous people are found. God agrees to spare the cities, even if just 10 righteous people are found. To assess the righteousness of the cities, 2 angels disguised as men are sent to Sodom to visit Lot. However, upon their arrival, they are met with a wicked mob who demand to know the identity of the newcomers. In an attempt to protect his guests, Lot offers his daughters to the mob, but they refuse and become enraged. The angels then strike the mob with blindness. Realizing the extent of the city's wickedness, the angels warn Lot to gather his family and flee before the impending destruction. As they leave, Lot's wife disobeys the warning and looks back at the city, resulting in her being turned into a pillar of salt. The Quran also contains a similar account of the destruction of the cities, although they are not mentioned by name. Abraham, known as Ibrahim in Islamic tradition, pleads with God on behalf of Lot's people but is told that the punishment cannot be avoided. Lot is saddened by the fate of his people and offers his daughters to the mob. Just as in the biblical narrative, he is instructed to leave the city with his followers under the cover of night and is warned that his wife will suffer the same fate as the rest of the inhabitants. The cities are ultimately destroyed by stones raining down from the sky. For decades, the prevailing wisdom among scholars and historians has been that Sodom and Gomorrah are nothing more than mythological constructs. But Dr. Collins begs to differ. With a background in archaeology and a keen eye for detail, he set out to uncover the truth behind an ancient mystery. The destruction he found was catastrophic, like someone put the entire city in a blender. This included not just buildings but also people, reduced to bits and pieces. Before diving into the details, let's address the big question: why does it matter if Sodom and Gomorrah were real? The skepticism stems from its biblical origins, as many today dismiss religious texts as mere mythology. However, if these cities existed and were destroyed as described in the Bible, it could reshape our understanding of history and religion, raising questions about divine intervention, morality, and human behavior. Dr. Collins didn't just stumble upon Sodom and Gomorrah by chance. His findings are based on careful analysis of ancient texts, geographical data, and archaeological evidence. And guess what? It all points to one conclusion: Sodom and Gomorrah were real, and their destruction wasn't just a figment of someone's imagination. Dr. Collins challenges the assumption that ancient texts, including the Bible, invent fictitious geographies. If the Bible mentions specific locations like Sodom and Gomorrah, they were likely real places. He's not only challenging skeptics but also traditionalists within Christianity. For over a century, many believed these cities were near the southern end of the Dead Sea, based on scholars like Dr. Albright. Dr. Collins disagrees, arguing that this lacks solid evidence from the biblical text itself. He proposes a different location based on his research and archaeological findings. So why does this matter? It challenges our preconceived notions about the Bible and its historical accuracy, forcing us to reconsider what we thought we knew and to approach ancient texts with a fresh perspective. More importantly, it reminds us that the search for truth is ongoing, requiring an open mind and a willingness to question the status quo. You might wonder how we can trust Dr. Collins's findings. Isn't he just another archaeologist with an agenda? Dr. Collins uses a rigorous scientific approach, cross-referencing multiple sources and subjecting his findings to peer review. Now let's tackle another challenge: the moral implications. The biblical account describes Sodom and Gomorrah as centers of sin and debauchery, including rampant homosexuality. In today's world, where issues of morality and sexuality are sensitive topics, the idea of God punishing people for their One of the first significant discoveries was the gateway of Sodom. They even found a stone bench in that gateway and a pillared entry hall where Lot would have sat, as mentioned in Genesis 19. Now, if you thought that was surprising, just wait until you hear the next part. Geological and archaeological data strongly suggest a sudden and intense destruction, consistent with the biblical account of fire and brimstone raining down from heaven. Dr. John Bergman, a theologian from Ohio's Franciscan University, joined forces with archaeologists to uncover the truth behind the biblical tale of Sodom's destruction. Their journey led them to the ruins of Tal el-Hammam in the southern Jordan Valley, a once thriving city that disappeared over 3,600 years ago. When they sent samples to a U.S. lab for testing, they found a glass layer called trinitite, formed when intense heat melts sand into glass, similar to what happens during an atomic bomb explosion. This pottery was exposed to over 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit for a brief moment. But the most interesting part is still to come. Tal el-Hammam's disappearance has puzzled archaeologists for centuries. This thriving city was larger and more influential than Jerusalem and Jericho, yet its sudden disappearance has baffled experts. Unlike other ancient cities destroyed by warfare, Tal el-Hammam shows no signs of military conflict or siege, hinting at a different catastrophic fate. Instead, the evidence pointed to a different, more catastrophic cause. Bergsmar's interest was sparked by a startling discovery: evidence of extreme heating on skeletal remains and fragments scattered across the site. He theorized that this heat damage could be attributed to an asteroid impact, supported by biblical accounts of fire and brimstone raining down upon Sodom and Gomorrah. The presence of trinitite, a glass-like substance formed by intense heat, on pottery fragments further supported Bergsmar's theory. It suggested that a high-energy event, similar to an asteroid impact, had occurred in the area. The most chilling discovery was that of human remains at Tal el-Hammam, showing signs of extreme heat with scorch marks stopping abruptly halfway up the skeletons, indicating a blast from the sky that incinerated the cities below. Stephen Collins, the principal archaeologist at Tal El Hammam, likened the devastation to the Tunguska event of 1908, a massive asteroid explosion over Siberia that flattened trees for miles around. He proposed that the airburst at Tal El Hammam may have been even more powerful, with energy levels surpassing that of the Hiroshima atomic bomb. The aftermath of the event was eerie. Significant amounts of salt were found scattered across the site, mirroring the biblical account of Lot's wife being turned into a pillar of salt. James Kennett, an earth science professor, explained that the impact may have partially hit the nearby Dead Sea, rich in salt, causing it to rain down upon the devastated landscape. While some skeptics have dismissed these findings as speculation, Bergsma remains steadfast in his belief. He sees Tal El Hammam as tangible evidence of a historical event, a stark reminder that truth can often be stranger than fiction. It really changed my perspective on the Old Testament, Bergsma reflected. What it pointed out to me is that things that sounded too outlandish to be history are actually shown to be historical events. The revelations at Tal El Hammam have reignited debates among scholars and theologians. However, the exact nature of the destruction and the extent of the city's wickedness remain topics of speculation and interpretation. Some theories suggest natural disasters, such as earthquakes or volcanic eruptions, while others propose divine intervention as the cause. Regardless of the interpretation, the story of Sodom and Gomorrah continues to capture the imagination of people around the world. It serves as a reminder of the importance of living a righteous and virtuous life to avoid the consequences of disobedience. What do you think? Was the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah a divine punishment as the biblical account suggests, or was it the result of a natural disaster like an asteroid impact as modern research indicates?